So welcome back to the ALSA UK podcast. Today's guest is someone whose journey challenges the idea that success has to follow a traditional path. Ronnie Koldashi is a creative entrepreneur, investor, and the founder of Seven Media Agency, a production house based in London. At just 21 years old, he's turned a passion for storytelling into a business, grown a personal brand that speaks to value and vision, and stepped into the world of property investment, born and raised in London with roots from Albania. What's remarkable isn't just the pace of his growth, it's the intentionality behind it. Ronnie chose not to go to university. Instead, he bet on himself. He built from scratch, learned by doing, and now is building across borders with projects rooted in both England and Albania. In this episode, we'll talk about what it means to say yes to risk when you're young. We explore the trade-offs of not following the crowd, the lessons behind building both creative and financial capital, and how Ronnie sees identity not just as a background, but as a driver of how, where, and why he builds. It's a pleasure to have you, Ronnie.
Appreciate it, man. What a fantastic intro.
Thank you. So, Ronnie, if someone went up to you, one of your closest friends, and asked them who is Ronnie Koldashi, what would you hope they say?
I hope they say Ronnie is a hardworking, resilient, very kind of hard-headed in the fact that, like, if he wants to do something, he'll do it. And if everyone else is telling him, no, this isn't a good idea or whatnot, he's not really going to take their advice. He's just going to go and do what he wants to do. And then if he fails, he'll fail and carry on going. Hard-headed and resilient, I guess.
Great. And then let's touch on that. What do you think made you gain that experience of doing even though you fear failure? What is the origins of Ronnie Koldashi?
Do you know what it is? I think it's from, obviously, growing up, watching my dad kind of like work hard and he had two jobs when I was growing up. So he was working as a bouncer and on a construction site. So obviously watching him work hard and whatnot, I guess that kind of instilled it in me when I was younger. And then I've always been the person where I've always kind of looked to do something. Like even if it didn't necessarily involve money, I guess when I was in year 7, I was trying to do YouTube. I had a YouTube channel, I was trying to put out content on what I thought I was going to become the next PewDiePie, I thought I was going to become famous off it, but I was still trying, and I don't know, I just like the thought of if I have an idea or trying to make it a reality. And then, of course, I used to do boxing when I was younger as well. So, yeah, I guess the resilience comes from parenting, sports, and just the thought of wanting to make my thoughts real.
Within that, you chose not to go to university, which, of course, in our community is a big deal, especially being the first generation born and raised in England. How did you make that decision, and how did your parents and people around you react to it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I kind of made the decision from when I was like in year 8. I was always like, yeah, I'm not going uni. It was always in my head that I'm not going. And then when I got to year 13, around that time, I was reselling trainers as well. So I was like, cool, I'm not going uni. Okay, so my parents were like to me during that period, it's come to the end of year 13, everyone's applied for universities. I put in applications for my parents, are like, oh, what universities have you applied for? I said, none. They're like, what? I said, none. They're like, have you lost your mind? They're like, what do you mean you haven't applied to any? And then at the same time, Global had, because I was going to the Global Academy, they had a program called Year 14, which was, it was free. It was a foundation degree and it was around business. I'll be honest, I wasn't really too much interested in the course. I was like, this is going to give me a little grace period. I'll tell my parents I'm doing this. It's going to give me a little grace period to figure stuff out to the point where by the end of the year, I should be making decent money to where my parents can kind of come to reality of me not going uni. So yeah, when I first broke the news to them, they were like, what are you doing? You lost your mind. And then even when I was in year 14, they kept like asking me, they're like, you're not going to apply for a uni? You're not going to apply for uni? Like, just in case. Or like, what if things doesn't work out? Well, why? Like, just go uni, just go. And we had quite a few discussions actually. And I used to bring up the point, I was like, who do we know that's gone uni is making like crazy money? I was like, no one. I was like, uni's a scam. But we was having like crazy debates over the dinner table. I was like, uni's a scam. So it's like, who do we know that's gone there and is making crazy money, I was like, well, I'm going to go there for 3 years, 4 years, however many years, get a piece of paper to say I'm qualified when I can just go out in the real world and build my own skill set and become valuable to companies.
I remember we were speaking about your first piece of creative work. Tell me about it. How did you get it? Of course, how did you own that value of itself? And what did that moment unlock for you?
Okay, first piece of creative work. If we're talking first actual piece of creative work ever, this is going back to year 7. So this is, yeah, I guess obviously was playing Xbox 360. We was watching people gaming on YouTube. I wanted to be like them. I wanted to become like the next PewDiePie, whatnot. So we started recording. I was playing GTA 5, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, and then posting on YouTube. And at the same time, quite a few people in my year started doing that as well. And then I started making thumbnails on YouTube. So I was like, I need to make my videos stand out. I need to make my videos look better than everyone else's. So I started making thumbnails on YouTube. And then everyone else was like, oh, bro, how'd you make those thumbnails? I was like, look, I'll make them for you. I was like, just pay me £1 to £2. And I was getting like £1 to £2 from everyone. I was like, I thought I was balling. I was like, I'm making so much money right now. So I had money to go out after school and then buy a packet of crisps and whatnot. So I thought, yeah, I'm rich. So I guess that was my first ever like piece of creative work. At the end of year 14, I'd been reselling since year 12, since I was 16 to 18. I realized the market was taking a downturn and people weren't making as much money as they used to. So I was like, okay, cool. I need to find a different avenue to make money. And at that time, I was just applying to every opportunity that was coming through the emails on Global, because they would always send like work experience or just like companies looking for X, Y, Z kind of people. And this one company came through and they were looking for a social media manager. So I applied for it. And then the guy ended up calling me. He was like, oh, we're not looking for a social media manager. We're looking for a videographer. Do you know what you're doing? I'd never touched a camera in my life. I was like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Yeah. He was like, oh, okay, perfect. He was like, do you have a portfolio? I was like, nah, but let me go down to one of your sites and I'll film something. And then bear in mind, I didn't have a camera at all either. So I booked in a shoot for the week after. And once I ended that phone call, I'm like, okay, now I have to figure out where to get a camera from and how to use it and then how to put this video together that he's about to send me an example of. So then I had to blag it to the school, picked up a camera from the school, because they had equipment that you could borrow, but you had to have training for it and you could only take it out for 3 days. So I took it out for 3 days. And then on the 3rd day, they're asking for it back. And I was like, yeah, I'll bring it back tomorrow. I'll bring it back tomorrow. And then, anyways, I kept saying, I'll bring it back tomorrow. Done the shoot. The video was so dead. So dead. A video that'll take me now like 2 hours to film took me like 6 hours because I was in every room I was going into. I was like searching up YouTube videos on like, okay, how do I use the gimbal? How do I use the camera? What does ISO mean? How do I get this shot inside of a property, whatnot? And then, and he wanted a drone shot as well. I told him I had a drone. So I climbed up to like the highest point I could find and like I held my hand up as high as I could to like try and get a bird's eye view of the property. And then you could see my shadow in like on the pro. It was so bad. Anyways, after that, I sent him the video. He never replied to me, so I knew it was a dead video. I kept following up. And then eventually he let me shadow their videographer at one of their course days. Once I shadowed their videographer, I realized, all right, cool, I just need to be better than this guy. And then after that, he called me 2 days before an event. He goes, our photographer's just called in sick. Do you know how to take photography? And again, I was like, yeah, of course I know how to take photos. And he was like, all right, cool. It's Watches of Switzerland, Knightsbridge. I need you on X day. Can you make it? I just said, yeah, cool, perfect. And then right after I got off that phone call, I ordered a flash online on Amazon next day delivery. And yeah, and then on the way to the event, I was learning how to use the flash on YouTube.
And I think there's a big thing on that you, of course, took the project. You didn't know. A lot of people just go, say yes, and then learn on the way. But with you knew you made a bad video. But why did you keep following up? Like, what made you keep on saying, oh, I'm just going to keep on following up anyway?
Do you know what it is? It's, I don't really take no for an answer in the sense of like, I'll try and squeeze everything I can out of an opportunity, you know? And even if it's like, because I was in the mindset of like, okay, even if I'm not doing for like video for these guys, I try to have some sort of conversation where I can do something for them. And I was willing to learn as well. So I knew that I would get better. Like, even though the video I produced was dead, I'm willing to learn and I'm hungry, and I knew that if I put time towards it, I would get better.
That's good. I think that, and as you said, even though he probably didn't reply, you still got that opportunity then with photography. And I think there's this conversation here that even though you keep on going, it's about staying in the long game for the opportunity to come. Because you could have just stopped, not replied to him, and then he would have forgot about you. But he's probably checking his emails every time, like, okay, he keeps on emailing me. And then an opportunity randomly comes. You stayed there long enough to then be like, okay, I need someone. Oh, this kid keeps on emailing me. Let me just try him again.
And you know what? Even today, like I get clients and opportunities purely through just consistently following up with people.
Yeah.
Because people are busy, like a lot of, and especially in the finance space, sorry, people are very busy. You know, they've got like 101 things going on day to day. They're most likely not ignoring you on purpose. They've probably seen it, were going to reply, and then, you know, things happen and they completely forgot.
100%. And then, was there a moment in this whole journey that you thought maybe you made the wrong choice? Like when you're on top of that hill trying to get that drone shot, were you like, okay, why have I done this?
Oh yeah, I'll be honest. Like I had that thought loads of times, but at the same time, yeah, I had that thought a lot because I'm looking at, bearing in mind, so during this period, I've met quite a few young entrepreneurs because I was always going to events as well. And I'm looking online, I'm looking at the Instagram, like this guy's making X amount of money, he's doing this, that. I'm like, what am I doing, man? I'm like, I'm standing on top of this building, trying to film this house with this cheap equipment. Like, what is going on? You know? Yeah, because you don't really feel the progress until you look back and kind of reflect on where you've came from and how much you've changed. And I guess comparison is the thief of joy, but at the same time, I think comparison makes you more competitive. But I always had the mindset of like, I'm here now, so I'm going to continue to go forward. Like, I'm not going to go back to uni, or I'm not going to try and get a job now. I'm here now, so I'm going to make it work. I've told my parents I'm going to make it work, so I'm going to make it work no matter what, you know? But yeah, definitely had a lot of doubt in the beginning, or just like thoughts of like, okay, how am I going to do this? You know, what's happening? Like, this doesn't make sense, you know?
Also, let's touch on your company, Seven Media. It's a production company, but I want to know more about what is it a symbol of, like the independence, the vision, the identity. When you look at the name now and the team you've built, what does it represent to you?
So Seven Media, we've actually, the actual incorporated name is Sieben & Co. And Sieben is German for seven. So we tell people that the reason it's called Sieben is for quality. Yeah, I guess what does the name represent? What does the team represent? Quality, man. I bet it's quality and just working hard and really understanding the client, because most people in the space, they don't understand their clients' needs and they don't strive for quality. I'll be honest, I've seen a lot of stuff out there. Like there's certain events or certain videos that I've seen and I'm like, how does this benefit the company? This doesn't benefit you. Like, yeah, you've done a cool edit, but it doesn't add context to what the event's about. It doesn't show why people are there. You couldn't use this as an ad. Anyone watching this that wasn't at that event wouldn't know what that's about, you know?
And kind of, I want to touch on that point there, where you were talking about when you see a video, you know that, oh, what is the ROI on this, etc. Because I think there's a thing that when you probably go to clients as well, that they're always asking for views maybe, or they want this amount of views. But I think there's a big thing of making sure there's a quality of views. And how have you seen that through the company?
Yeah, 100%. Like we have, so for example, there's one of our clients, we run their YouTube, and one of the videos has 6,000 views, which in the grand scheme of things is not a lot, but that 6,000 view video has probably generated around 20,000, 30,000 pounds, purely off just people. It's because of what they're selling. So it's high value information. And then if you want to learn from them, obviously you reach out to them, whatnot, and then they'll get booked onto a sales call and they'll get sold. So, and we had another client who done, what was it? It was like 900,000 impressions, but we generated them. No, it wasn't 900,000. It was like 500,000 impressions, but we generated them like 960,000 pounds, because they was in the renewable energy space. They done like biogas service and maintenance, and each client was worth to them 80 grand. So we were targeting like renewable energy companies. So let's say 100 views for them would have been like 100 people in the renewable energy space, 100 decision makers, you know, rather than like 100 random kids that have just seen it on their TikTok. We just purely go on LinkedIn. So there's definitely a massive difference between quality and targeting the right people and then just getting views for the sake of getting views. Because you could target like, you could land on 10,000 kids For You page, but they're not going to spend with you, you know?
Exactly. And I think that's what the change is now, is that each social media platform is having their own niche audiences, and everything's not just viral for everyone to see. People see it at different times. And as you said, even though that video got 6,000 views, it generated 20,000 because of those 6,000 views, it had the quality of views, not just the quantity. And I think it's very, very interesting. And then touching on that as well, what have you learned about the power of all of this storytelling? Who gets to be seen, everything through the camera to create these videos? What are you seeing with that?
Yeah, I mean, people are attracted to stories, right? Like people remember stories, and that's how they remember your brand. And no one really remembers logos nowadays, and they want to connect. They want to connect to the person behind the brand. And I'm seeing the rise. I was having a back and forth with my business partner, I think yesterday, because we're seeing the rise of AI and people like using AI to create sit down talking head videos. But I was like, if you're building a personal brand, that's not going to work. It's a lazy quick fix because it's if you're building a personal brand and you're trying to use AI videos, you're not going to create that human connection. You're not going to be able to create, you're not going to be able to show your personality through the video. People can feel that. Like subconsciously, you're able to tell what's an AI video and what's not just straight away, purely because it sounds robotic. And if you're going to try and build your personal brand off AI videos, that's not you. That's not your personal. You're not going to be able to connect with your audience. And people are going to see through that, you know? And I think with the rise of AI, now it's become more valuable than ever to show your personality online, to tell your story online, and to be authentic.
Building connection, of course, AI is you, even though it's a video, it doesn't feel connected to the personal branding side. But when
Yeah.
it's you speaking, is that you're connecting with people, and at the end of the day, everything mentally is about human connection. You buy from people that you like to see, etc. When we look at the CEOs and everything, even your Stephen Bartlett's, it's you look at his post and probably automatically like it just because it's Stephen Bartlett, not even because it's a great video. Has there been projects you've turned down that hasn't aligned with values, or that you had that didn't stand for what the business was about? And how did you navigate rejecting offers?
We have turned down projects purely because we know that this particular client is going to be more headache than it's worth. Let's say just because they're paying you a good amount of money, if it adds a lot of headache to your plate, it's going to affect the rest of the work that you do away from them. Mindset is a big thing, and surrounding yourself with the right people is a big thing. And especially when it comes to your clients, if your clients are instilling a negative mindset in yourself, if they create doubt within yourself, if they are making you believe that your price is too high, whatnot, then they're probably not the people that you want to work with, purely because that same doubt will carry on into other projects.
And how did you actually come to that decision? Of course, you've got your team, you've got your co-founder. When money is at the table and you're like, how do you analyze it and say, you know what, this is too much. We shouldn't take this. And then how do you navigate that as a team as well?
I'll be honest. So recently we've been reading a book called Reality Transurfing, and I've been taking a lot of nuggets from that. But it comes down to experience and it comes down to experience and pattern recognition. Because once you recognize certain patterns and certain behaviors in people and clients, just because someone's willing to pay you 10 grand a month doesn't mean that 10 grand a month is going to be fruitful, you know? Like money comes and goes, because you can have that 10 grand a month, but maybe working with them disrupts the rest of your pipeline and you can't get any more working because of them. Then what's that 10 grand is worth nothing, because it's ruining your potential to make 50, 60, you know? The way I look at it, or the way I analyze it, is just purely off like, who are they as people, and are they easy to work with? Do they know what they want? Yeah, it's just looking at certain behavior patterns, man. Because if someone's very erratic in their decision making, if someone's constantly attracting problems, then you kind of want to stay away from that.
And then with a book you've mentioned as well, Reality Transurfing, do you see anything that you've read in the book that has just been a case study and then has actually showed up in your day-to-day life when it comes to risk or trust in the process?
Reality Transurfing, the book, is about essentially, it talks about manifestation, but from the perspective of quantum science. I think the writer, Vadim Zeland, he was a Russian quantum scientist, and they translated it into English. It's like an 800-page book. The first chapter, they talk about pendulums and how the pendulum has to swing either way. So, for example, if you begin to get really excited about money, let's say you make 10 grand one week and you start to get really excited about it, the pendulum, you're giving the pendulum a lot of excess energy where it swings one way, and then eventually it has to swing the other way to where you lose that 10 grand. I've become detached to the fact of, if we make a lot of money, I don't get excited about it. I don't put too much excess potential to it, because once you do that, then you're like, all right, cool, let's go on holiday, let's do this, let's do that. Oh, we made this money, we can relax a bit, whatnot. When you see big success, don't put too much energy into it and get overexcited. Just view it as, this is normal. If you were to, I don't know, order something from McDonald's and you were to get your McDonald's order, you're not going to get overexcited. It's just normal. I've put an order in and I receive my order. It's normal for me to go and collect it. Because the moment you start putting loads of energy towards it and you start getting overexcited, then in your head, you're essentially telling reality that this is not normal for me. I don't do this on a daily basis, And then that's what you'll see. You'll see the flip side of it where it goes horribly wrong.
Definitely. I think that's very interesting. And even myself, I can see that in different ways. But as you said, when you make it feel that it's such a big achievement and everything, and when you did amazing, it always will come back where it's not reality. And the best thing to do, of course, with entrepreneurship and everything, is to make everything feel like it's just a normal day, as you've said. Like whatever deal it is, it's a normal day. We keep going on to the next, etc. And I think it's a very cool mindset. The only little thing I have this mindset, which is a question to you, is: do you ever feel satisfied?
Yes and no. I do express a lot of gratitude on a daily basis of like opportunities I have, because there's a difference between getting excited over something and being grateful for it. I do express a lot of gratitude for the opportunities I've had, the things we've built, whatnot. But at the same time, am I satisfied? No, I'm not satisfied. No. But do you know what it is? I think it's the mindset of an entrepreneur. I guess you constantly want to build the next thing. You build something and then you're on to the next one, and next one, next one.
So I also want to talk on your property world as well. So property is a world a lot of young people are finding intimidating. Those in London, those in the UK. What made you first believe you can enter it, and how did you move from a learner to doer? And also, how did you get into it with first being a videographer?
Okay, so what I'll say with anything in life, any business, any opportunity, any investment, if you don't have people around you that do that thing, it's going to seem very scary. It's going to seem like it's impossible to achieve. The quickest way to get into a certain space or to start, I guess, transforming your life or investing in property, investing in stocks, crypto, whatever it is become part of a circle that is doing that already. And they'll give you knowledge that the general population do not have, and they'll make it a lot more achievable for you. So how I got involved in property, obviously I started so that first guy that gave me the opportunity to then shoot our Watches of Switzerland, to do the photography of Watches of Switzerland. Once I was there that day, I ended up speaking to the director. It's a property development company. I ended up speaking to the director, and then we started working together. We eventually had a meeting, and then the ball snowballed. I started to get better with the camera, started to get better. And then we worked out a deal and we started working together. And I was practically with these guys like 7 days a week. Bearing in mind, they've probably done upwards of £100 million in property deals. So they're seasoned developers. They've been in the game since 2001. So they've got a lot of experience. And I was practically with them 7 days a week, filming their sites, meetings, going to meet the bank with them, meeting their solicitors, going to viewings with them, watching them break down deals. I was literally like seeing everything. And at the time, because previously I was reselling shoes from 16 to 18, I was reselling shoes. I sold £66,000 worth of trainers, 33K being profit. So I had savings in my account, and obviously I'm doing videography now, so I'm making a bit of money, so I'm adding to that. And the whole time while I was filming these guys, I'm like, how can I get involved? How can I get property? How can I get property? I have this much money. How can I get a property? Because I wanted to do it for myself, and I was like, I've got people around me that know what they're doing. So essentially, like I'm not going to fail because the people around me know what they're doing. They're going to be able to give me the guidance to, I guess, navigate it properly. And then this was probably about a year in working with them. So I'm 19 at this point. And we've just filmed an event at Selfridge's Brasserie of Light. And we're sat by the bar. It's me, Sanjay, and Adriana. We're sat by the bar, and Malkit, I think. Can't remember. Anyways, Sanjay goes to me. He was like, Ronnie, you said you wanted a deal. He was like, I've got a deal for you. He was like, the property is £296,000. The build cost is 60,000 and the end value will be 490,000. He was like, do you want the deal? I was like, all right, cool. He was like, do you want to buy it? I was like, all right, cool. And then at that point, I was like, all right, cool, I've agreed to this now. Now I have to go through with it.
Yeah, I actually have to do it.
And he goes to me, he's like, listen, if it flops, I'll buy it off you. If it flops, I'll buy it off you. Just buy it. If it flops, I'll buy it off you. I'm like, all right, cool, I'll buy it. And then, so now I've said I'll agree to it, even though I guess in the moment I was kind of saying it off just like, yeah, I'll do it. After when I got home, I was like, okay, I've agreed to this now. Now I need to make it happen. So then I followed up. I was like, cool, what's happening with this deal? Like, can I get it? What's going on? And then I was in talks with Adriana. And then, yeah, essentially put an offer down on the property, bought it for 296,000. It was in Sunderland. It was a existing 8-bed student HMO. All it needed was just basically an internal refurb because it had already been a HMO for since 2007. So all it needed was an internal refurb because it had everything to meet the licensing conditions. So yeah, bought it for 296,000, put 60 grand into the refurb, and then got it revalued at 490,000 with a rental income of 58K, and the net income, so after mortgage, expenses, bills, management fee, the net rental income is 23,000 a year. So yeah, that was how I got the first deal. And yeah, it was literally just it was just a case of you are the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with 5 people who are constantly investing into HMOs, you will eventually end up buying a HMO because you'll be put in a situation like where I was, where they're like, do you want to buy this? Purely because everyone else in the group has a HMO and I don't, you know?
Exactly. It's that thing of where you've got those positive influences around you at the end of the day. We have people that know what they're doing. And as you said, you were probably not ready for it in your own mindset. If you saw the property and you probably wouldn't have taken it yourself. But having those positive influences around you that push you that little bit, and then you're just like, yeah, why not? And even them, of course, they're like, oh, if it flops, we'll buy it off you. It's just having those people that are around and can bridge that gap that you don't, because you can do it, but then mindset wise, you didn't have that. And now you've got your first, now you've got how many more over the next 2 years?
But don't get me wrong, yeah. During that whole period, I can't say the word, but I was scared, like as in, because I'd never done this before. So I'm taking out a loan for like 300 something thousand because we got a loan for the development as well. So bear in mind, I'm taking out a loan for like 300 something thousand pounds, yeah. I'm 19 years old. I'm like, bro, what am I doing? Yeah, I'm like, there's no one you can speak to either because there's no one like my age that I know that's doing that. So I'm like, bro, what am I doing? I'm like, yeah. And then, everything went to plan. Obviously, we got the development done, whatnot. And then we refinanced the property. Obviously, refinanced, pulled all my money out. So the initial £70,000 that I put into the property, we got it back out, and then during that same period, I partnered up with Darwood, who's now my business partner, and I said, "Look, I've got 70,000. He's got X amount of 70,000 as well." I was like, "Let's buy another property." But this time I wanted to get one closer to London. So we chose Reading as an area. But in Reading, to do a HMO in Reading, you need about £120,000 cash. So it was like, cool, let's go 50-50, we'll put 60-60 in, and we'll do this HMO together. So we bought a three-bed terraced house, stripped out the whole inside and turned it into a 6-bed all-en-suite HMO. And the figures are practically the same. I think the net rental income after all expenses and whatnot is 22,000. It's like 22,586 because I'm like a spreadsheet where we track it. But yeah, and then we're currently just in the process of refinancing now. So we finished the project. We're just in the process of refinancing, sending the bank the documents they need and closing off the deal. But yeah, I guess the main idea was, because whenever I was speaking to Malkit and Sanjay and looking at their career and looking at what they've built, I'm like, okay, cool. All these guys have done is they made a little bit of money early on and they invested it as soon as possible, and they just continued to invest it and stayed consistent in investing for a really long period of time.
And on that, do you think that ownership with time, assets, ideas is a kind of freedom in that sense? And if so, what are you building that freedom for in the long run?
It is a freedom. It is definitely a freedom. But there's also a lot of added headache with it as well. It's not like all like sunshine and rainbows. I don't know, man. I guess I just enjoy building stuff, you know? Like I just, at the same time, no. So currently the reason I'm building the HMO portfolio is I want to build something that my parents can have as, I guess, a pension or to retire them, whatever you want to call it, because I know that now the state of the UK, you're not going to be able to live off a pension when you're like in your 60s. You know, it's like you're not going to be able to live off it if you don't have any assets, you know? So I guess what I'm doing right now with the HMOs wise and the property investment is I want to give them something so where they can, in the later years of their life, they can just relax essentially, you know? Yeah, because the agency is going quite well. And at the same time, because money comes and goes, you can make a lot of money in a small period of time. But if you don't invest it, you don't have something to
That's
carry you for the rest of your life. Yeah, and that's compounding. Then you can have a lot of money now and it'll disappear later. And I've seen a lot of people make a lot of quick money and then they'll just spend it on a bunch of like stupid stuff and then it's gone, you know? So crypto is easy to sell and it's easy to spend that money. Same with stocks, same with most other investments. Property is kind of the only one where it's like once you buy it, it's quite difficult to sell. So I think it's a great store of your money essentially, and you make money off it at the same time off your rental income. So
I think that's very personal. So thank you for sharing as well. And it's a great, as you said, to have that to build for your parents so that they can live off a pension is a freedom for them as well. And it's so cool. So congratulations to you as well. And I think there's another question in that. Do those parents that told you that you should have signed up to university, what do they think of everything now?
yeah, my parents are proud, man. It's yeah, they love it. It's funny because I remember when I told them I'm buying a house up north in Sunderland. They're like, "What do you mean you're buying a house?" They thought I was talking rubbish. They're like, "What do you mean?" I'm buying this house. I'm buying it. And yeah, I guess now obviously with Albanian parents is weird. Like they don't show you too much like to your face that they're super proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
You hear them on like phone calls to your auntie or something, and they'll be saying, "Oh yeah, Ronnie's done this, that, this,
Yeah.
that." So yeah, but they're proud now, and they kind of trust my decision making now. And to be fair, it's kind of fair. I see where they were coming from in a sense where like they are only trying to do the best for you, and that's the best route that they know of. And obviously, I hadn't done anything previously to show them that I can my judgment can be trusted, or that, I can do X, Y, and Z. So it's fair that they'll push you down a certain route because you haven't really done anything yet to show them that, you're capable of making your own decisions.
Our parents came from Albania and they only know what they know. What the biggest thing was is as long as you're educated, you're fine, you'll get a job and you'll be able to live. And at the end of the day, all they want is for their kids to be safe, happy, healthy, and grow a family. And I think there's a big thing on that is all they know, and it's about showing them. And as you said, you had nothing to show when you did it. You even had your trainer's business and they still didn't trust the judgment. But even it's about showcasing to them and explaining to them as well. I'm guessing when you started the Seven Media, they probably also said, what do you mean you're going to make little videos for properties? Why do they need a video
Oh my days.
for?
Oh my days. I remember when I was leaving, 'cause I was leaving the house with like a huge tripod and like loads of like camera gear. My mom said to me, she's like, why didn't you get a normal job? She's like, why are you walking around?
Exactly. So, but as you said, it's about now where they see it and they can see it's tangible. And once again, it's also inspiring for all the other Albanian parents as well. One of the things we always say is that when one person does it, everyone else will start doing it as well. And it's all that it is that one person that they can see. And that's what representation is about as well, where they can see someone young doing it, first generation, and then bang, they've done it. Now it just looks, and that mindset of, if he can achieve it, why can't I? And I think that's one of the biggest aspects as well, which you've clearly presented so well.
Yeah, man, it's just betting on yourself, honestly. Like if you have an idea, then go out there and try to make it happen, because realistically, especially if you live in the UK, like what is the downside? Like if you don't make money for a few years, like okay. Like we live in a country where the government will literally pay you for not working. So if you can't make it happen, worst case scenario, you can go to the government. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Worst case scenario, like genuinely,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much opportunity in this country where it's like the risk isn't really a risk. It's just limiting beliefs in your head to where you believe that there's such a big downside to it. There's not really. You'll always have a roof over your head.
We're in a privileged position at the end of the day in the UK with our parents, etc., that we can take this risks. And why not at the end of the day, with being young, as you said, you still have that thing that you all have a roof over your head. The UK has a great safety net as well, that if it does come to it, there is schemes, etc. But it's also the fact of, there's so many opportunities and so many risks. And the way I always see it is that if I look back on this moment in 20 years, and I didn't make the decision I'm going to make that looks like a risk, would I be happy with that person? And I think that's what is the next step as well, is that just looking at it, because you can look at yourself maybe 5 years ago and think of a decision where it might have been two different ways and you're like, oh, I should have done that. And we're in the position, we've got the opportunity, why not try? And as you said, you take a year out, you try build a business or whatever, and it fails, okay, next year you go back to your another job and you find another job.
100%. And do you know what? I genuinely, in this market, I genuinely believe it's so easy to make money. You just have to find a skill and solve someone's problem. Just learn a skill and solve someone's problem. That's it.
Definitely, technology's increased. The capabilities of networks, LinkedIn. I've connected with so many CEOs. Like, what do you mean? I have a connection with a CEO. The internet has done so well, and it'll be a topic we're going to touch on later on, through personal branding, where you can connect with these people that our parents' generation was never be able to connect with.
Yeah. Literally. I mean, like for example, my dad, because obviously he was born in Corks. For him to go get work, because he was telling me stories, he used to have to like travel to Greece and stay there for like a month, whatnot, for him to be able to work because
Pick
there was no work where
oranges.
he was from. Literally. So it's like, um, we're not in the same situation as them. We've got so much opportunity now. There's nothing to
Mhm.
complain about, you know?
And let's talk about Albania then, as you touched on there. Your dad is from Cork, your mom is from Burrell. Of course, you've grown up in England, born in the UK, but now you've also done some projects in Albania now. What are you trying to build in between two, and why are you doing projects in Albania? What's that invisible thread?
So the project in Albania, it was actually funny because one of the clients I ended up working for, they had really close ties to Albanians. Essentially, their builder was Albanian. So they were quite close with like the Albanian community. And then we started something called the Savoys Club. They were good friends with someone who's he's the son-in-law of son-in-law of Armand Duca.
Yeah.
So
Armand Duca is the head of Albanian FA.
the chief of Albania FIFA and vice president of UEFA. Essentially, we wanted to host a mastermind retreat in Albania, bring entrepreneurs from the UK, take them to Albania because majority of them would have never been Albania. It's a beautiful country. Take them to Albania, have different business speakers. So we had, I think, someone fly out from the USA. We had someone fly out from like different parts of the world. So we had 3 different speakers purely for like business and mastermind. And then we also had Armand Duca speaking, and then we done a talk with Eddie Rama as well. But essentially, we brought 80 people from the UK to Albania. We stayed in the Movenpick in Durrës. We stayed in the Movenpick in Durrës. And yeah, it was a mastermind retreat. I filmed the retreat, and it was a really cool experience because, like, for example, because when I went that year, I hadn't been. No, so I went previously. I went previously with them to watch Albania versus Poland. So yeah, I went September to watch that with them. We was like staying in the director's box. So it was crazy even then. So that's when, because obviously we'd seen Eddie Rama walk in, we'd seen like these big people in Albania walk in. And then obviously I'm like taking snaps and posting on my story and whatnot. And then my family back in Albania, they're thinking, what is going on here? Because I haven't been Albania, bear in mind, I haven't been Albania in like 8 years. Yeah, and then the first time I come back, I'm in the director's box in the stadium. And then so September 2023, Albania vs Poland, and then I come back in May of 2024, and then we done the mastermind retreat. And then again, I'm posting pictures like Eddie Rama's there, you've got Armand Duca, whatnot. They're like, what is going on, man? This is like, how has this happened, you know? And then 2025, we done another mastermind retreat because it went so well last time. This time we had Genti Sula speaking. So I think he's the biggest developer in Albania. That's what I heard. He's the one who developed the Arca rooftop, the Arca Hotel in Tehran. So we had him do a talk. I think we had like one of the members of parliament in Albania do a talk. I think he's a head of entrepreneurship. And then again, we had like entrepreneurs from the UK and then a business owner from the USA do a talk as well. So yeah, we kind of collaborated with Albania to host mastermind retreats, bring UK entrepreneurs to somewhere they've never been before, and just show them a whole new experience, really, and get education from, I guess, the top 1% of the world.
Wow. Very, very interesting. And touching on Albania then, of course, you didn't go for 8 years before that one thing. Did you ever feel disconnected from Albania? What does home mean for you? And how has that definition changed now that you've been working in Albania as well?
Oh man, I love going to Albania, man. Genuinely, because it genuinely feels like you're at home, like you're with your people, you know. And for me, I told my mum this. I was like, at some point, I want to move to Albania. She's like, Albania, can we hit pretty free now and So yeah, I do want to move to Albania at some point. It's a beautiful country, and I guess when I didn't go for 8 years, I wasn't really thinking about it. I'll be honest. Because at the same time, I think during that period, obviously I was at school, whatnot. You've got your friends. You're not really thinking about go back to your home country and whatnot. But when I did go, I was like, I've been missing out on a lot, man. I was like, I haven't been in so long. It's yeah, definitely need to come visit a lot more.
What do you think gives you the mindset of, I want to come back to Albania? The UK is a land of opportunity. Your parents came, as you said, Albania. They said they left Albania to come to England, and now you want to get back. Why?
I guess if you have the ability to set something up online and you can work from anywhere, for me, I don't know, Albania just, one, it feels like home. Two, it's a beautiful country, nice weather, you know. Yeah, man. I mean, it would like, what's there not to like? Do you know what I mean? Like, whereas in the UK, it's very, like, if you look at everyone on a day to day, everyone looks very depressed. The weather's not great. Like, the energy isn't too great either. Don't get me wrong, I love the UK, but yeah, I don't know. There's something about living in Albania, man. Yeah,
Why
I
not?
want to, yeah, why not? Literally, why not?
Exactly.
Like, if I can make it happen, if work from home and I don't really need to be in an office, then why not, you know?
Why not? Exactly. And as you said, it's that thing of technology has grown so much. You don't need to be in places. Of course, you built a great team as well. You don't need to be in person for things anyway. So it's that thing of why not? But how do you think, if it does happen, you approach your parents with all of it?
No, they'll be cool. Yeah, they'll be cool. Just a matter of literally like finding a place, buying a place,
Yeah.
and then I was saying, I was like, I want a penthouse in Tehran, but but yeah, it's just it would be a matter of just like finding a nice place and then moving there.
Definitely. And let's talk about Albania now. You've seen a few projects, etc. If you yourself had a blank check to start any project in Albania, no limits, full freedom, what would you build yourself?
If I was to start a business in Albania
Yeah,
or just start anything in Albania,
just anything, business, investments, what would you go for?
I would do what you're doing right now, as in start a marketing agency in Albania, because I think there is a massive gap in the market to where they are looking for people who understand the way of marketing from the Western world. And there's not many people who understand that quite just yet in Albania. And I think with all the new businesses that are coming into Albania, you've got like a paddle club now, you've got all the hotels that are coming in, all the restaurants, um, all these different businesses. They're going to need someone to market them and attract business to them. And when you're marketing in Albania or when you're creating content in Albania, you're not just marketing to Albanians anymore. You're marketing to the whole world because it's become a holiday destination now.
100. It was good to hear. And as you said, touch on that a little bit, that there's paddle clubs coming out now. There's all these new restaurants. Tourism's booming. We had, I think, 12 million tourists again this year. I think there is that also opportunity of Albania. And as you said, I've come back to Albania. I'm here starting a marketing agency. But there's a sense of when I speak to people in the generation above, the generation of the diaspora that did leave Albania, and tell them I've come back, etc., they always say, why? Because they believe Albania as they left it at the end of the day, that 25 years ago for Albanians during communism, for Kosovars during the war. And they say, why would you go back to that? Because it was very emotional for them, of course, with everything they did to leave their country. But the stage Albania is at now, as you said, you've worked on these amazing projects. Paddle clubs are coming out, the biggest restaurants, tourists are coming. Albania and Kosovo are both growing a lot, and people can still say the mindset of 25 years ago. Things have changed, and the only thing that will change is a new generation that will come in with these ideas and this mindset with technology that backs us as well. And as you said, there's opportunity now to keep on growing, and I think that's a big thing.
100%. Yeah, there's Albania's in a very unique position right now. Like, I think the last 2 years is the first time ever I've had English people come up to me and say, "Oh yeah, I'm thinking about going to Albania for holiday," or "I am going to Albania this year for holiday." Like, it's mental the amount of people that have been asking me, "Oh, do you know anywhere nice to go? What places do you recommend?" And
I couldn't believe it. I had a friend from 4 years ago, like GCSE summer, haven't kept in touch too much. She sent me a message last month. She says, I'm going through the Balkans. I've heard Lumi Charles is cool. Do you know about it? And I'm like, wow, I'm in Skoda. Lumi Charles is over there. Come, definitely. And there's so many people. They're coming to connect. They're coming to see Albania. They want to see the hospitality. It's nice. It's cheap. It's growing, and I think, yeah, as you said, opportunity is there. So I want to next talk about your personal brand. One of your biggest videos that went out straight away was, what is an Albanian doing making so much money? And you said, no, it's not the snow. So what made you want to start a personal brand? You talk a lot about it. You help others grow theirs as well. It's not just about visibility. It's also about that positioning. And what makes someone's personal brand work in your eyes?
So it's literally that. For so long, I've been building other people's personal brands and building other people's brands. And I've seen how much business has attracted them, and I've seen how much it's benefited them. And during that whole person, or when you're working on someone else's brand, you don't really have much time to create any content for yourself or work on your own brand, put your own brand out there. But with personal branding, it's with business in general, the more conversations you have, the more money you're going to have. And I guess posting content online and telling people what you do is essentially just amplifying that and putting that on steroids, because now, like, millions of people can see and hear your story, and if they resonate that, they'll reach out and they'll want to do business with you. So yeah, I guess we was in Albania at the time. We was on the we was doing the mastermind retreat, and we was filming it. And then I was like, this is such what we're doing right now. I was like, this is such a good opportunity to capture some content. And honestly, we had the idea of doing the video where I went up to the sales director of the hotel at Arca, and I was like, if I produce a video for you guys, can I stay in the presidential suite for free? So we done that video. That was quite a cool video. And then I was like, what else can I make? What else can I make? I was like, how do I say? I was like, how can I make a video? Like, I said something like, I'm a 21-year-old Albanian. I've built a £1 million property portfolio, but no, I don't sell X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And then my business partner was like, bro, you can't say that on socials. We need to find a way to say it without saying it. So I was like, okay. And then we came up with the script, and I was like, I'm 21-year-old Albanian. I built a £1 million pound and no, that's not what I do. I'm
Yeah.
a videographer. And then on the screen, obviously, we put the little snow emoji. And I knew it was gonna have it was gonna do well. So then as soon as we posted it went wild.
It's so cool to see. As you said, it's that thing of engagement works in the sense of you hit a nerve at the end of the day. That, of course, Albanians, we've had this stereotype, but you're showing, even though it was a little play, a little joke, but you're showing that it is possible, and you're representing good. You're representing this is how you can do with hard work, videography, then going into portfolio, making the right investments. This is the Albanians that are working day to day, and showing that as a personal brand as well for all of us is representation. And representation is very important because, as we talked about in the podcast, it's seeing that if you can do it, why can't another Albanian in the same shoes with the same parents and opportunities that you had do it as well? And touching on the personal branding side as well, how do you balance all doing your personal brand, being visible and sharing online, and also trying to stay focused on all your work, like trying to capture behind the scenes content whilst you're doing work as well? How do you balance all of that?
Yeah, so we've delegated a lot of stuff. Like, as we've got, so Seven Media has been running now for almost a year. We incorporated Seven Media, or Sieben and Co, in October of 2024. So during that period, any task we would kind of run into, because naturally you do everything yourself at the start, and with every task we find a way to delegate it. So our systems are very, like, Dawoud's Polish, and I like to say that, like, Polish people are very, very organized, like super organized. And he kind of has that skill that I guess I don't. Um, so as soon as we went into partnership, we got a system called ClickUp, and then on there we have like everything, and we document everything we do. We make sure we have like processes for everything we do. We write down SOPs for everything we do. So essentially, if anyone was to come in, it's so easy for them to pick up and do what I do exactly the way I do it, because we break it down step by step. So we went through the process of doing that first, and then we went and just essentially found people to do those things and just delegated things one by one. So for example, let's say I used to be the one filming the shoots myself. Now we've got a videographer. I used to be the one that scripts everything, or writes the scripts. Now we've got someone who scripts everything. We used to do ads ourselves. Now we've got someone who does the ads. We used to run the social media accounts ourselves. Now we've got a social media manager. We used to make the landing pages ourselves. Now we've got someone who makes landing pages. So essentially, a lot of like the heavy day-to-day tasks have been taken off our plate to now where our role is either managing the projects, making sure all the parts are running smoothly, bringing in leads to the business, having meetings, selling clients, and essentially creating content.
And of course, that's how the company's grown over the year. But the biggest thing there that I would like to know is, how do you build that team? How do you put the trust? What are you looking for when you're hiring a person like that to do a specialized task? As you said, delegation and systems is the best way of operating a business and making sure that people are specialized. But how do you find the right people to fit in that system?
Okay. So in 2024, I met a CEO. His name was Stephen Myron. He's the CEO of Global. So Global owns like Capital Extra, LBC, whatnot. I met him and I had a meeting with him. We had like an hour-long chat. And he said to me that the the biggest reason like 99% of businesses fail is not because of money, it's not because of they don't have the skills, it's because of people. It's because they either partner with the wrong person, they hire the wrong person, or they decide to take on the wrong client. He was like, people destroy businesses. He's like, if he's like, you have to. He was like, in business, to do well in business, you have to be a great judge. You have to be a great judge of character to do well in business. That you need to be able to spot patterns in people, if they're erratic, if they're disorganized, if they attract problems, if they're constantly making excuses. So that advice I kind of took on, and anyone we work with, and we'll only work with someone if we envision ourselves working with them forever. So we'll kind of just look at behavior patterns and are they on time? Do they dress well? Are they rude? Um, are they erratic? Are they organized? Do they deliver on time? It's just looking at patterns in behavior. Um, and with anything, we'll initially work with someone on one project, and we'll see how that first project goes. And then if that project goes really well and we really enjoyed working with that person during that period of time, then we'll continue working with them. And there's also an element of a gut feeling. I don't think my gut's ever been wrong. And there's sometimes where you don't listen to it and it kind of stings you. But yeah, sometimes you have that feeling of like, oh, this isn't right, but you decide to go against it. And it's definitely stung me in the past. But yeah, I think now we've become quite good at being able to look at someone's character and judge whether they would be good in our business or not, and listen to your gut at the end of the day as well. And what does your gut tell you about this person?
I want to touch on, of course, co-founding it with David. How has that been? How do you delegate each other? And of course, co-founding a business at young is hard to make sure your vision is aligned, everything is doing, and decisions are made. How do you tackle it from both of your angles?
Yeah, I definitely, I would say to someone, like, don't just jump into a partnership for the sake of jumping into a partnership. Don't like intentionally go out there and look for a partner. Like the way we partnered together, it wasn't even intentional. It was just kind of, it happened naturally. Um, that first Watches of Switzerland event I'd done um, way back in, what was this, 2023? No, or 2022. I think it was like 2022. When I done that event, Dard was there, but he was a guest and he was the only other person with a camera. And then obviously I just went up to him to speak to him, and I said to him, no, he goes to me, he was like, where are you from? I said, Hayes. He's like, no way. He was like, where in Hayes? I said a road name. And then he was like, bro, I live 5 minutes away from you. I was like, you're lying. And then he showed me the road that he lives on, and he literally was walking distance from me. And I was like, this is mental. And then ever since then, we kind of just started to, like, we'd meet up and we'd go and work, or we'd share ideas, or we'd go to the gym. But we'd still be doing our separate like work. But we'd done the same thing, but just in two different industries. Like he was a videographer, but in the renewable energy space, and I was a videographer, but in the property space. But we both had quite similar mindsets where in the businesses that we were working in, we took on a lot of roles that we weren't your typical videographer, because we started doing email marketing, we started managing the socials, we started scripting the videos, directing the videos, and like honed in on how can this content generate the most business possible for this business. So we had very, very similar mindsets. And when the Albania retreat came up, I knew I couldn't do it myself because it's quite a big project to film. So I called up Darwin, and that was the first project that we worked on together, and was like, okay, but we actually work quite well together. So, and then yeah, from there, it kind of snowballed, and then was like, all right, cool, let's actually sit down and let's see how we can make this work. And then that's when we came up with the name Seven. And that's when we was like, okay, cool, we can partner, we can reach out to these companies. This is what we can offer them. And that's when it was all born.
I think that comes to the thing of increasing your network, as you said. Both of you guys had a camera, making sure you speak to each other, keep in contact, and then here you are 2-3 years later with a company. And then what do you think about networking then? How important is a network? Now you're building your personal brand and the network comes alongside it.
Networking is so important, man. I'll be honest. I've seen people on TikTok say like, "Oh, networking is BS, and networking doesn't get you anywhere if you don't have value to provide and whatnot." Networking is the reason I'm able to work with some of the companies we're working with. Like yesterday, we was working with a company that has an £8 billion fund. They're a lender. They lend across Europe, Ireland, and the UK. Well, Ireland's in. They lend across the UK and Europe. And yeah, massive company, but that was purely through networking. And when I say networking, you're probably not going to find the best quality people at networking events that you can just pay to get into, or like, no, that's a lie. You probably won't find the best quality people at networking events that are very cheap, that are like 25 quid or free to go to. But what you will meet is you'll meet some people there that are doing something, and they'll be able to give you inspiration. They'll be able to connect you with other people. And I guess as long as at the same time, if you're at the beginning of your journey, you're learning a skill and you're able to provide value to others, you'll get invited into other rooms. Um, and yeah, now we're constantly like spending money to get into bigger rooms. We went to AdCon recently, and we spent £2,000 a ticket. So we spent like £4,000 on the tickets each. Well, not each, sorry. We spent £4,000 on the tickets total because we had Darwin, plus the hotel, plus staying at the Hilton at the O2. And that one event, I met like so many people that just changed my perspective on things. I met one guy that we will potentially be working with as well. I remember I was on the boat because you essentially get access to this like private dinner with all the speakers and whatnot. And I'm on this boat and I meet this 21-year-old from Switzerland. And he goes to me, he's like, bro, he's like, you're not even making £100,000 a month yet? I was like,
Just crazy.
yeah, he's like 21 years old. He's like, you're not even
Yeah.
making £100,000 a month yet. And he genuinely looked confused when he was looking at me. Like he genuinely looked confused. He was like, how are you not making £100,000 a month yet? I was like, and then, but the advice that he gave me and the gems that he gave me were like invaluable, you know? And networking has definitely been a direct tribute to, you know, like what I'm doing now. And I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now if I wasn't out there networking and meeting other people and I guess, yeah, being able to find value to these people. The only way you'll find people of value is you have to pay to get into certain rooms. You have to pay a lot to get into certain rooms, but it is definitely worth it.
Before we go back onto networking, I want to touch on that Swiss guy's point. For him, it was just normality.
Yeah,
And
literally.
he's like, 100K is nothing. 100K no, is just normality. And once again, for him, it's easy to make it because it's just normal day to day. And that's another thing, how big mentality and perception is on all of that. But touching back on the networking, I think from my journey as well, I used to live in Wolverhampton. I would like have to travel to London, to Manchester for big networking events. And I do think there's also value in free networking events as well, where yes, you might not meet huge clients or whatever, and maybe for business sense, but for people that are students or university or want
Yeah,
to hear
sure.
about it, it's about going to those networking events and speaking to people, because it's not always about closing. It's also what you touched on about just being inspired by someone else or having that one contact, because everyone has a story to tell when you hear that. And once again, everyone also has a connection somewhere. There's dots that align it. Even ALSA events, I remember I used to get home at 2 a.m. after a London ALSA event, but I just wanted to be around people and speak to people. And then opportunities come. I'm now in Albania. I'm going to a networking event on Sunday. It's just making sure that you put yourself in the room, because not only is it networking about your network, it's also about the hours you're putting in at the end of the day by putting yourself out there, by going to these things and seeing, and also justifying to yourself that you're allowed to be into these rooms and allowed to hear from these people is a big thing to help your mindset and perception as well, which is why I always think networking events are very important.
Also, I think a lot of people go to network events with the wrong mindset. Don't go to a networking event trying to sell someone. Go to a networking event purely to just build connections with people, and just like actually start conversations just to build a connection with someone. Don't go
Definitely.
in with the mindset of just trying to sell them on something because you'll never get anywhere.
Exactly. Just learn from people, be genuinely interested because that's the biggest sell. When you're genuinely interested to someone and they're genuinely interested to you, it's easy to sell after. But when you're going up to someone and then you like sell, 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 I think our generation is probably the best at it, where you just identify something that's for sales or like advert or whatever, and then you just like bang, you're switched off straight away.
Yeah, 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 100%. I think it's yeah, and we was having this discussion recently. We had to change the way change some of the messaging with some of our clients because the consumer has become a lot more savvy to a sales funnel or how a sales funnel works and what is a sale and whatnot. And yeah, we've definitely had to change the messaging on social media through our clients because yeah, people have become a lot more savvy to sales in general.
So if your younger cousin came to you and said, I want to do what you did through property, videography, personal brand, what is the best piece of advice you would give them? And what is some warnings you would also give them?
So I was actually speaking to a cousin recently and I was giving him some advice. And I was like to him, firstly, surround yourself with the right people, find networking events in Albania, find places where, business people are attending, where people of value, where people that are trying to make something happen are attending, attend those places, become friends with those people. And if your current friend group is not the best influence, if they're doing, X, Y, and Z, they're not the greatest people to be around, then you don't have to cut your friends off, but just stop hanging around them as much because you're going to take on their habits, you're going to take on their mindset, and it's going to stop you from being able to progress. So the first step is get around a new group of people that will give you a new set of habits, a new mindset, new way of thinking, new goals, and new possibilities in your mind. And if you're looking to get into videography specifically and you don't have any money at the start, I would say research and really understand social media, understand the way content works, understand how to make a post go viral, understand what makes a post go viral, and then use that and start creating social media content with your iPhone for businesses for free. So go to a business, offer someone work, and I would say offer an entrepreneur work, someone that you can work closely with that you can also learn from. Offer them some work, create videos with your iPhone. If it does well, then have another meeting with them, put them on a retainer, and then use that money to go buy a camera, and then so on and so forth. And then it kind of snowballs from there. If you produce good content, of course, they're going to recommend you to their network. They're going to help you, get in the door of other businesses with other people, and then it snowballs from there. But the main thing is find a new network of people, get around those people, and then really understand and learn social media because you don't need a really expensive camera to produce content for people that they will pay for. You just need to understand how social media works and how to drive traffic to someone's social media page.
100%. And I think, as you said, it's not about you need a Sony A7 or Sony FX3. Phones are some of the best pieces of camera equipment that
That,
everyone
that,
has
Alba-
by
that
themselves.
Albania reel was filmed on my phone.
Exactly. And that's also another thing with social media, that the best content is also phone content a lot of the times because people don't want to see the most professional cut thing all the time. If you want views and want to grow a personal brand, sometimes the phone is the best option. And also, I want to like social media at the end of the day is also 180p most of the time. It's not even 4K anyway. So that is what
Yeah.
your phone records at.
Yeah, literally.
When you imagine your work in the next 10 years from now, not even just the company, but the impact of everything that you're doing, what does it look like? Who does it help? And what does it change?
Wow, that's a big question. Um, I think in the next 10 years, do you know what? The way you progress and the way you build a big company is by solving problems. And I think the route we're going to go down is we currently help businesses market and we currently help businesses generate clients through social media. But the next step is building a software and is building a software that either helps videographers, because that's an industry that I understand really well. And there is a lot of issues around payments and client fulfillment, and just general communication between the client and the videographer. So I think that world is really interesting for me. And then also the world of, I guess, businesses and marketing and whatnot. But I think the next step is definitely software and building something that benefits a large group of people, niche group of people with a certain market, but relatively large group of people. Um, yeah, do you know what it is? I don't tend to think in blocks of like 10 years down the line. I kind of just like thinking like, okay, well, in the next year, how can I do double of what I've done already, you know? Um, but yeah, I think over the next 10 years, it's going to be how I'm going to be 31. All right. When I'm 31, I definitely want to have a few £1,000,000 cash. I definitely want to have a few different homes across either Europe, the UAE, and just, a few places to kind of bounce around from. Um, and a large team and a large company. I mean, with the people that we're surrounding ourselves with now, there's one guy who's fantastic on social, is a good friend of mine as well, D Ludlow. Um, he does a lot about like M&A and acquiring businesses and whatnot. And he's given me a lot of advice as well. So I think at some point we'll definitely go down the route of acquiring businesses as well and bolting them onto what we're currently doing, to expand the empire. Because in business, the hardest part, or 90%, is just getting momentum and getting out of that, breaking out of like at least 10 grand a month or 20 grand a month. That's the hardest part. But once you break out of that, once you've got momentum, and then you can carry on going, then it's just optimizing the systems, figuring out how to get more clients in. So if you can just skip that whole process and buy a business, and then you're like, all right, cool, they've already got a service, they've already got a good team, they've already got a structure. I just need to um, look at how can I make this more efficient? How can I market this? How can I get more sales in for the business? So yeah, I think the next 10 years is probably going to look like more property investments, um, acquiring businesses, building the empire, and just making a lot more money. And just looking at where I can solve problems in different markets that I understand. With my personal brand and with what I'm doing and what we're posting, I want to show people that it is very possible to make things happen and to go out there and make money and to change your life. It doesn't have to be difficult. It's very simple. You just have to put your mind to it. And um, yeah, there is, if you live in the UK, if you live in the Western world, there is no excuses.
And there's little barriers, I think, is the best way of saying it. There's little barriers to entry in most any of this. Of course, everyone has a phone, everyone will have a laptop.
Bro, people are making thousands of pounds for like clipping people's streams on TikTok.
Yeah,
It's mental.
exactly. And it's not about, oh, you're going to clip streams forever. It's about clipping up the streams, getting that capital, and then getting a camera, going to videography, and then getting to property.
Once you have money, there's a lot of things you can do, but the first stage is you have to acquire some sort of cash, because once you have a good amount of cash, then you can, let's say, acquire a business, or then you can, buy the tools to then service certain people, or you can hire someone. Once you have money, then you've got a few different avenues you can go down. But the first goal should be making that money.
100%. And I want to ask, of course, with your personal brand, you've got a lot of connections and networks, but what is one of the best DMs you've ever received that makes you think, yeah, I wanted to do it, or you replied straight away?
For example, one of the guys, he was working in an estate agency and he wanted to get into media marketing. And I said, okay, cool. And he was like, I don't know what to do, this, that. And I was like, bro, I was like, you work in an estate agency, I was like, all right, cool. But why not just offer to do their social media and then learn how to get good at, making posts go viral, generating business through their social media. And then once you've got a case study, use that case study to then go out and get other clients as estate agents. A lot of the times the solutions are very simple. It's just people overcomplicate it in their head because they don't want to take the action.
And I think that's what you said. People will think about the huge picture too much and see all the problems here, there, etc. I think the biggest step is just taking that first step. And as you said with your personal brand, you were thinking about it so much, you weren't doing it. And then just one point you were like, cool, let me do it. And then you were thinking, oh, let me film this. Why? Let's do this. It's about just taking that first step. And the problems will come, but the problems will come at a later time. Not all of them come at one time.
100%. And also just ask questions to people, man. Like whatever networking event I was going to, or even on LinkedIn, like I'll message people that are a lot older than me, CEOs, directors in person. I'll talk to people that are a lot older than me, and I'll ask them, okay, if you were my age, I'm doing X, Y, Z right now, what would be your advice, or what would you have done differently? You know, what would you have done differently at my age? And I'll just ask them advice. And people like to talk about themselves, and they also like to give advice to people that are younger, you know?
For anyone listening to this podcast right now we're coming to the end. What is one thing that you hope they take away from your story and this podcast?
Get out there and hustle and take action, innit? Like, anything's possible. You just have to go out there and do it. No one's going to hand anything to you on a plate. You know, you have to go out there and speak to that person, go to that networking event, you know, make that post on social media, stop caring about what people think about you. Eh, Like, if you continuously, you know, think about, what's this person going to think if I post this? What's this person going to think? You're never going to progress. Think about, you know, the long-term vision, the bigger picture, you know, does it really matter that much if I embarrass myself a little bit right now? If this person doesn't reply to me, or if, you know, I do a bad speech on stage, or if people think my post is a little bit cringy, is it really going to matter in the bigger picture? No, it's not. People are going to forget after a week. So yeah, just go out there, take action, and do what's best for yourself, really and truly, man. I mean, like, a lot of people will suppress their own vision just to please others, or to like please their parents' vision of them, of what they of what their parents think they should do, and they'll suppress their own vision because they're too. And a lot of it just comes down to miscommunication, man. You need to be able to have clear conversations with people. And if it is, let's say, your parents that are stopping you from doing something, then just sit down with them and have a conversation with them. Maybe a lot of people find it scary. They don't know how they're gonna have this conversation with someone. You need to get over that fear. And if you don't get over that fear, you're going to always be stuck in the same position.
Thank you very much, Ronnie. It's been a pleasure of podcast. I've learned a lot. I know a lot of our viewers will learn a lot. And I can't wait to see your next steps in your journey.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.